Tamela. Let's laugh and spread love. Tea with Tamela. You're more than enough. Tea with Tamela. Don't ever give up. Tea with Tamela. Come and fill your cup. Tea with Tamela.
Hey, friends, welcome back to Tea with Tamela. But today, her husband, Demario Davis, taking over the microphone. If you have been following the season, you have had a chance to see her with amazing guests, amazing content that has been so nourishing. But today, we're going to change it up a little bit. So if you've been following us, you know that our life is taking a turn. The amazing, incredible city of New Orleans, where we've been serving the past 8 years of our life, we are getting ready to enter another chapter, and the journey ahead is moving us back to the place where it all started, where we were drafted back to the city of New York, or New York City. And it felt like the right time to, this full circle moment is happening. Let's turn the tables a bit with Tea with Tamela and interview the host, Miss Tamela Davis.
Tamela Guild Davis.
Tamela Guild Davis. Hey, TGD. Make sure y'all get that. We get a chance to spend time with this amazing powerhouse of a woman that does so much, which we'll get into. But we'll get a chance to go behind the scenes a little bit and know about how Tea with Tamela began, the F Word brand, the food truck. Looking forward to it. How are you feeling, Miss Tamela Guild Davis?
I feel good. I mean, a lot of moving parts. I think a lot of different thoughts and emotions to process. But overall, I feel good about where I am. I feel good about all the transitions, a lot of bittersweet things that are taking place. I think there are a lot of unknown things that I'm still trying to figure out, but I'm willing to do the work to figure out what it is that needs to be figured out. So, yeah.
Well, I am excited for this. This will, ahead of time, go ahead and tell everybody this is my favorite episode.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
you're
most
so
excited
crazy.
because first I got to start with, I got to give you your flowers.
Okay, I like flowers.
You mean so much to our home before it even goes out into the world. You mean so much to me to be able to walk through life with a truly a best friend that sees you more than you see yourself, which you've shown me on so many occasions is just remarkable. The way you not only show up for me as a best friend, but in romance as a lover, the way you care for my heart with tenderness and affection is just so amazing in ways that the world will never be able to see. The way you show up as a mom for our kids, the way that you nourish them and nurture them, just from a tenderness, but also being able to put your life on hold to make sure that they have what they need to grow in homeschooling them. There is never a gap in our home from a physical need, an emotional need, a mental need. It's all there and it's enriched by you. You are truly the nucleus of our home. But even after you step outside of everything that you mean to us, you are the engine behind everything that everyone has seen go out. You're the engine behind the Devoted Dreamers Foundation. You're the image behind the Demario Davis brand. You're the one that's the wifager.
That's me.
That's meeting with the agents, meeting with the financial advisors, meeting with every gig. I remember my first side practice with my trainer. You were out there checking him out, making sure that he was doing what he's supposed to do. It's like you are the engine behind everything that we've built up as a brand. And now, even as you go into your solo career or you step out front, seeing you move in so many different spaces. You are a content creator. You are a podcast host. You are a world-renowned chef.
Okay, come
You are
on.
an
I'll take that.
author. run your own life coaching and consultant firm. It's just amazing to see I would be going all day if I just went through the list of your accolades and all the things that you said.
Thanks for reading my resume. I appreciate that.
But today it's about the tea.
The tea.
And the tea, as I've seen on your show so many times and been able to participate, is about what's the unknown about a person? What's the part that you don't see? We get a chance to talk about a lot of the times people are chasing success, but it's really about greatness. One is a destination, the other is about a journey. One is about the external, the other is about the internal. And so what people most time don't see is the internal. And let's just start with the story behind the F word.
The F word, the famous F word.
How did you arrive there?
I think arriving to this umbrella of the brand being called the F word was something that I wrestled with, honestly, a little bit with trying to really figure out what I wanted to build and what did I want it to symbolize? What was it going to be symbolic for, known for, all the different things. And just a little backstory of when I first, entered into this wifager role and relocating and trying to figure out a lot of life, there were people who became great friends to me who I'd never met, who I'd never had a conversation with. And so I know that sounds crazy, but it was a lot of, and this was before the social media thing was what it was, but it was a lot of content through blogs. So because I love to write, I love to read, it was a lot of people who were writing out day to day how-tos, what they were doing, how they were doing it, how they were building, their family in a way that was honoring to the Lord, how they were sharing different things from their own lived experiences that they felt could be beneficial for other people. And then there were, a couple little shows that were out there. And so as I was trying to figure out this new calling that was opposite from the direction that I had geared my life towards going in, not knowing that later all these things would come back and, just in a different form. But it was me trying to figure a lot of things out. And so from there, I started reading a ton of blogs and doing a lot of studies and watching a lot of like cooking shows. It was just like all these things, but these were things that spoke to different things that were internal inside of me. And so as I started to look at the benefits that I was reaping from being able to embrace those things. And I'm a student where, I like to take it all in and process it, chew up what I want to chew and leave what I don't want. And I'm constantly building these systems and rhythms. And so it really helped me in a time where, looking back, I was probably highly stressed, maybe semi-depressed, high functioning. And it really felt like I was connecting with these individuals through the pages or through the episodes or whatever that may be, but not idly. And it's hard for me to watch TV from an idle perspective anyway. Like I'm always like trying to dissect the characters and all these different things. But it was speaking to me in a way that where I was really questioning how could I return that favor, so to speak, because what they were doing for me, I mean, some of these people I still have never met or had a conversation with, it was doing something so instrumental in my life. And I knew that if I was struggling in some of the ways that I was struggling, or if I was needing to find joy in some of the ways that I was finding joy, or I was having to figure out some of the things that I was having to figure out, I must have not been alone. And so how could I then create something that could do the same thing for other individuals, whether they got to know me up close and in person or not, but I wanted them to feel like they could connect with me through digital platforms.
I love that. There's so much that's there. And I remember seeing you read these blogs, and
Sometimes I would print them out and tape stuff to the refrigerator.
I remember this, and these little mini series, and even the shows that you were watching were very particular. But let's pull the thread of that season of life of stress or navigating different things. How are these blogs speaking to you in a way where you felt connected to these people who you had never met? And why was that so important to you in that season of life?
I think it was important to me during that season of life because I was going into the unknown. And there were certain things that I knew about the unknown, but there were other things that I didn't know. There were things that were priorities for me, and my faith was one of those things that was at the forefront of a lot of my decision making and how I wanted to show up in a way that was honoring to the Lord above all else. And so, how do I show up in this space where the world already has its mark on it of what it's supposed to look like? And I'm speaking about the football industry because going back to, we literally got married and moved within a month's time. And so there were so many different things where I'm like, how do I not compromise my faith in this space? Because there were different shows out that was depicting it as being something that was opposite from what I thought, what I believed in. How do I show up in a
That's
way?
when Wags came out.
Yeah, it was all these different shows like Basketball Wives and all these different shows about people who were in relationship with professional athletes. And so those shows were entertaining and I still learned certain things from those shows, but I'm also a person who's always trying to identify who do I want to become? So what can I learn from you that I want to take? And then who do I not want to come? What can I learn from you that I want to leave? And that works for you, but it doesn't work for me. And not from a judgmental standpoint, because we're all like created differently, and we all have different gifts and talents and passions and different roads ahead that we're supposed to live, different personality. There's all these different things, but what do I take? What do I leave? And I think so. I didn't want to compromise my faith. I wanted to also not compromise like my relationship dynamic with this new spouse that I had. So I'm like, how do I show up in a way that's supportive, in a way that's submissive, in a way that's God honoring, that's a partnership. So I'm going down my checklist of all those different things. And then because family, and at the time I didn't have any kids. I had a dog. That was our family. It was me, you, and the dog. But I nurtured him as if he was like a little baby. And so in that, it was like we were building a family, but the family dynamic needed to have a certain strength level between the two of us as we're thinking about bringing in other individuals. And initially, I think we were going to wait like 2 or 3 years before we had kids, and that didn't happen. And so we're bringing in
Y'all
this.
see this lady? You think that's going to happen?
You're crazy.
Y'all see this lady?
You're crazy.
They don't have no pre-vasectomy that you can do. You don't have no layaway plan.
No birth control plans.
No, it ain't working like that.
And so it was I'm dreaming about this family that we desire to cultivate. What are some things that I need to prioritize in how I want to establish that? And so they were speaking into that, and I was getting to see examples of people who, had infants all the way up to kids in college and kind of following those journeys of how they were really executing certain things. And then I'm a foodie. I've always loved to cook, host, and entertain. And so there were people that I were following who were hosting big dinner parties and inviting people in, but it was so much bigger than the food. And so it's like, how do I give you food for nourishment of your body, but also food for your soul when we're getting to interact and engage? And then football was the platform. It was the vehicle. And so I wanted to incorporate that so that I could really show people behind the scenes of what this lifestyle was for me and my family, and for them to not automatically assume that it needed to mimic what they had previously been exposed to through some of these other outlets that were presenting it in a way that was for those individuals, but it wasn't for, the direction that I was going and what I was grooming. And so as I thought about that, I'm like, it's my faith, it's my family, it's food, it's football. I'm like, how do I create something that kind of highlights all of that under an umbrella? And that's how I said the F word, came up with the F word. And at first I'm like, ooh, like that's a little like snazzy, like marketing, because people are automatically going to think I'm talking about something totally
Was
different.
there any hesitation in
There
that?
was There was definitely hesitation, and I think there was hesitation because now, mind you, like that was a word that I sometimes used previously. BC, I always say BC, before Christ, before the Lord came and snatched me up out the pits of the pits of the pits.
That's
And
that's
so
funny.
I didn't use it wasn't a daily
Yeah,
word, but it was
yeah,
a word that was
yeah.
utilized, and I remember like some of my family members kind of use that word occasionally. And so I'm like the F word, but when you hear it, like you're thinking like, something that is like vulgar and
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
unclean. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, the first word that I want when I'm describing the F word to be is my faith, because that should be the most important F word that anybody uses,
Yeah.
anybody lives out,
Yeah.
anybody tries to
Yeah.
dig deep in and apply to their life.
Yeah.
And so, and I went through, and then it should be like your family, and then it should
Yeah.
be, all these other things. And so, one of the things I ask people now is like, what's your F word? Because it doesn't have to be what we've deemed it as being something inappropriate. Now, there was struggle with that because I'm like, as a Christian woman, and I'm starting a brand called the F word, like, are people going to think I'm straying left? Or are they going to really sit and like hear
Yeah.
more about,
Yeah.
what
What are they
I'm
gonna do if they just
building?
read the
Why am I
headline?
going to
Yeah.
build it? And I can recall like some pastor friends being like, maybe we should add an S on the end of it, or maybe we should just delete it. Can we just call it the faith? Or, like it was all these different things. And that's not to say that I won't ever revamp or,
Yeah.
change it. But for that season of life that I was in, I just felt like that was the calling for it.
Yeah. I love that you keep using the word calling, because you said that earlier. And I kind of want to pull on that a little bit. Let's talk about, you said, as I stepped into this season of life, these blogs and things were speaking to what I felt like I was being called to.
Mm-hmm.
You had a lot of intentionality around how you wanted to show up, who you wanted to be, and you felt like you were being called into something. Did you feel like your calling was in line with what you were desiring or wanting to be, or did you feel like the calling was a way separate from what you were?
I think it was a little bit of both and I
Okay.
say that because one, as a person who always developed two plans most of the time for anything that I'm gonna do, like I had those two plans, but then there was also a plan of like some of those things kind of intersecting and kind of meeting together. And so I had like this life plan that I had built out, some of like what I wanted, some of what other people suggested, and I'm just trying to, do my due diligence to build it out in a way that I felt like would best reflect me and give me some of the things that were going to be super fulfilling for me. I love being independent. I love leading. I love and I always say I like to be in the background. I like being in the background of certain spaces, but I like being out front in other spaces. And so there was just all these different things that were taking place that I was building my life upon, like as an individual. But then when I, became one with you, so to speak, there were different assignments that were being placed on me that I don't know if I had fully processed what it was going to look like to merge the two dreams, or what it was going to look like to merge the life that you were building independent from me and the life that I was building independent from you. And just so happened the life that you were building before I was even in the picture was one that came with a lot of things that I didn't even dare to dream of because they just weren't on my radar. It wasn't like I was, thinking, oh, one day I want to go and I want to do this and I want to have this amount of success. Like I was okay dreaming big outside of my zip code, dreaming big inside of like different parameters that I'd put on myself, but not leaping into this other box that was way bigger. And so you were coming with dreams that were way bigger than what I'm like, listen, like I dream big, but I dream big with safety and guardrails and boundaries around it. And yours just seemed like so far out. And so it was like, how do we bring all of these things together and walk out this calling? Because it's a calling on your life, it's a calling on my life, it's a calling of us merging the two lives to walk it out in oneness.
Yeah, I think that's a super commendable quality that you did, where two roads of two people coming together. And I think this is probably common in a lot of relationships, but I know especially in our dynamic was you had to probably what felt sacrifice your dream to walk alongside my dream. But really how that played out is you invested your fuel into a vehicle that I was driving. And without that fuel, we don't have what we have today. Like I was running on 85 unleaded and you put premium fuel into what was going on. So the car transformed essentially. And we wouldn't be where we are inside the game with where we are as a family, where we are off the field with our name. The Bible says a good name is better than silver and gold, without the fuel that you brought from your journey and all those years being injected into this car.
But that's the part people don't see or they don't appreciate. Because, and some of it could be from misconceptions that, that's again why I have a love-hate relationship with some of the ways that things are depicted, because with that, people build these false narratives and they project that onto other people. And so people didn't see me laboring alongside you. People didn't see the behind the scenes work that I was investing into building this brand, so to speak. People didn't see like the wiferager of how heavily I was involved in you selecting an agent, you selecting a financial advisor, like bringing my own wisdom and discernment to the table. It automatically becomes, and I don't know why this is, of I am coming and jumping on your train and I'm just riding. I'm just riding the wave.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you could see behind the curtain and see all of the things. And I remember there was one time I had a challenging conversation with a family member, and it wasn't to downplay any of the work that you were doing, because I knew how hard you work. I knew how much time and effort and things that you put into your craft. But I remember arguing with him. I'm saying, all Demario does is play football. That's it. All of these other things that you see happening, like he's the face, but there's all this that's happening behind the scenes that I'm doing. But because I'm in my robe, I love a robe all day.
Me too. I love a good robe.
And it's a cute robe because I'm in my robe and I'm behind a computer or behind a phone or behind a paper or, whatever the case may be. You don't see it, so you don't value it.
No, I think that's spot on. And to the world, in that light, to clarify, it looks like someone may be jumping on as a passenger to someone who has success, but when a partner is jumping on, it's actually it's a oneness. You became the engine of the car. And so where I was the exterior, or this really nice car looking like it's rolling down the street, most is what I described early on, like you're the engine of it. And so it really became where I was operating, having to play football and do all these things. It allowed me to play football even better because there was so many things that you took off my plate.
Right.
And that became this really amazing thing. But I think now you're going to chance, as you're stepping into the forefront, it'll be so much more that people will see about you that you have been the whole time and never have strayed. If anything, have only gotten better. But I think it's this greater picture of what we were talking about earlier today, prior to this podcast, just about like greatness and success. Like what people see is this exterior, but nobody sees what's going on. Nobody looking at the engine of the car.
No.
There's like a duck or a swan going across. Nobody see the feet pedaling. They don't know what's happening underneath the water. And because of that, especially with social media, when you see something, even when you watch this podcast, you see the final product. you
don't see all the things that went into all the people behind the scenes.
That everyone was doing to just give this perfect 45-minute to an hour show. And it's the same. And so what I would just encourage people is when you look at someone's story, don't take the story or whatever you're seeing, it's only the headline.
Right,
that's the
highlight clip.
It's so much more content that's going on underneath, and the only way you're going to get that information is if you humble yourself and ask questions. And I just probably was not enough people taking time to ask the real hard questions of what's going on with you, Miss Tamela. We see all this going on, but
Well,
what's happening? How you doing?
You have to be a certain type of person to care.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And you have to be a person who's able to process in real time what is taking place and not just seeing what's taking place on the exterior. Like you're seeing like what people would deem as the glitz and the glams, the country. Like you're seeing all of this public knowledge that's coming into play, but you don't understand all the different other parts of it. And so they're excited about what the headlines are feeding them.
Yeah.
They're excited about, you because you're the star, right? So they're like, we don't care. They're not saying this, but this is what they're showing. We don't really care about what she's thinking or what she's feeling or what she's doing because we're here for you. Like you're the star. You did all this. You and so I don't think they just sat in the car and like, we ain't gonna ask her how she's doing. We're not gonna ask her how she's processing. It's just it doesn't become like their second nature because they're excited about having access to this megastar.
Well, today we got access to a megastar. It's you.
Okay.
And so
Thank
we're
you
going to
so kindly.
talk. We got a chance to hear a little bit about the F word. Let's hear more about the food truck. Food is one of the F's.
Food is one of the F's from the F word.
There's Tamela Tailgate Treats. Let's hear the origin of how that came to be. Why does that move your heart, and how do you show up in that space through food?
So I grew up watching my grandmothers cook and serve people. Their house was a revolving door. And one of the biggest things when you came in, you never left hungry. They were really big on making sure that there was always something available because you never knew who was going to stop by. So there was always some sweet tea and at least something for someone to make a meal. And so there was this nurturing that was taking place on how they loved people. And they just didn't love the people who were a part of our family. These were neighbors. These were friends of friends. These were people who were highly successful or just trying to rub two pennies together. But they never treated any of the individuals who entered their house any differently. And a lot of that love and nurture and those conversations, they happened around food. And so as I watched them, because I was a kid who didn't really like kids, I was a kid who didn't really want to play all the time with the younger, but I just wanted to sit at their feet and absorb and take in all that they were teaching me intentionally and unintentionally, because I love to observe. And from there, I started to pay attention that a lot of what was happening around what they were cultivating was around food. And so then I started to ask questions about food and recipes and the parent and why they're making certain things and how do they do it. And for a really long time, people didn't know this, but I was terrified of a stove because I don't play with danger in any magnitude. And so like even as the kids are learning to cook, I'm like at their age, I was scared to like even play around with the stove. I just wanted to watch. And then as I started to ask questions, ask recipes, and just continue to observe them, I went to college and I wanted to do the same thing for other people that I watched them do because it was bigger than the food. It was food for the soul. And there was richness that was happening behind, giving people these meals. And so I had no stove. I was in my dorm room initially and I had like some fryers and some, which was illegal, by the way. But I was just trying to figure it out. And I'm like, these people are away from home. I'm watching them struggle. I'm watching like all of these internal things that are taking place inside of them. And I'm like, if I could just invite them to my room for food, I can help them, because it was all about how do I help them in a deeper sense, but the food was the entry point. And so it started from that, and then I moved off campus, and then I started to host and entertain and have people at my house all the time. And it was hangout, but it was like to give them a place of belonging, to give them a place of feeling loved and supported and cared about, where they could come in as they are with no judgment, regardless of if it was a senior on campus or a freshman on campus, that there was a place for you in my home, at my table, and I wanted to get to know you in and out. And so that just came with me continuing to play with recipes and calling home to them and getting more and more I guess, under my belt of how I was going to prepare all of these different meals. And so as I started to watch a lot of these blogs and episodes, food was a big part of that. So that connected with me as
Mm-hmm.
well. And so I wanted to then be able to create my own recipes to share them with people so that they could share them with the people that they loved. And it just became something that turned into this whole food ministry of
Yeah.
a food truck.
Yeah, you hit on a lot of things there. From being a little girl scared of the stove
Scared of the
to
stove.
moving to where you want to feed people's souls. You hear the gathering spirit. When I met you, it was a house full of people and there was food.
That's how you met me.
Yeah.
And then you invited yourself over.
The
But
food is great,
That's
number one. So people are coming back because the food is good, but they're staying because they're being fed with something more.
right.
Let's talk about like that. What drives you or pulls you to want to feed the soul?
Sometimes it comes from knowing moments in life where my soul wasn't fed
Mm,
and nobody noticed it.
mm,
And because it drove me to have great self-awareness, but then it also taught me how to observe and become aware of not just myself, but other people. And so with that, I wanted to be able to look at a person and see behind the eyes that like you can see, oh yeah, you have blue eyes or brown eyes, but like what's going on behind what I'm able to see. And so then that taught me how to ask the right questions, to pull the right information, to observe their movement, to observe their stressors, their body language changing. And I could do all of this in a way to learn more about what they may need so that there could become an offering for what they may need that they're not even aware that they need. Because now, and I don't want to treat everybody like they're a case study because that's not, but it's coming from a place of really wanting to see people feel loved, feel supported, to operate in their gifts and their talents, to have joy, not just happiness and not just checking box, but having joy in how they're doing life. And I don't want you to think because you have joy, then life is easy. But what are you doing in those hardships? How do we get to the root of all these different things that's unfolding in your life? And so that's what it was for me. It was a part of me becoming what I needed for other people. And then it was another part of me helping people see certain things that I maybe didn't see or people didn't see in me, and providing them with a safe place to know that if you sit at my table and we're sharing, it doesn't leave the table. To have trust, people that they could trust, to have people who were going to be loyal to them, to have people who were going to meet them exactly where they were, and to love them deeply without an agenda.
Yeah, that's powerful. I think there's a beauty in your intensity to love people.
I love people, and I want to love people well.
You are meeting people with an intensity to see them. Like, you can see the ferociousness that you're looking at someone with, but it feels safe. It feels inviting. It feels like care. It's a longing to love you. Now, you talked about, like, when you were young, you wanted to go into psychology, and now your table or your home is a ministry. Is there an element where someone sitting and you say it's like, I'm not treating you like a case study. It's a longing to love you and a longing to nourish your soul. Is this a ministry of kind of mental health and wellness for you, for others?
Yes, it's definitely a combination of that. And yes, I did want to major in different forms of psychology, and I was told that wasn't a real major.
And
But
you've gotten several licenses
and
since
well,
then,
yeah, like
and
different
certificates.
coaches and certificates and doing a lot of research. But one of the things, and definitely never want people to feel like, oh, well, I'm about to be her next case study. Like that's not it by any means. But by any means, but I wanted to have awareness around different things that people struggle with, different things that didn't afford people the opportunity to be the best versions of themselves, different things that would pull on them and eat them silently, and for them to not have, I guess, strategy on how they wanted to show up in the world. So I wanted to research all of these different things and have clarity around what happens in the human mind, what happens in the human emotions, what happens in why people make some of the decisions that they make. You know, you look at some of the unfortunate things that take place and you're like, why would they do that? And so it made me curious around how different people were in the choices that they made, the things that they appreciated, the things that they wanted to become. And it was one of those things I really, really wanted to understand a person, not just for what they presented to me, because sometimes when you're presenting yourself to a person, you're on, right? You're like, I'm on, I'm just gonna go. But I want it to be a safe place because I realize how many people in the world does not have a safe place where they can go, whether they're battered, bruised, broken, on edge, and really cry out for help or to really feel seen and heard and not judged. And so with that, it was a becoming. How do I become this for people? How do I love in a way that, and you know, at the time that this started to be built inside of me, I wasn't even thinking how to love like Jesus loved. Like that was not at the forefront of my mind. But like in hindsight, I'm like, oh, like that was something like you were trying to figure out how to love people the way that Jesus loved them, how people can come before you. And not that I'm like me and then God, like not that. But when we're called to do life the way he has assigned us to, we want to be able to be a representative of his character. And so it was me unintentionally and unaware because I wasn't even far along on my faith journey when these things started to present themselves to show up in the way that he was calling me to.
Yeah, I see that. Just to affirm you and what you're saying, the picture that I would liken that to is Jesus meeting a woman at the well. And he looked at her with an intensity of love, but felt like a safe space enough to tell her all about her business and say, I see you.
Yep.
But I love you. And literally when she ran into the city, she was like, let me tell y'all about a person who told me all about me. And so I think that's where you're starting with a place of love to let people know I see you. And it's non-judgmental.
Right.
And this is not about you being a case study.
Right.
But it's just, I want to show up in real, authentic love because I know what I was looking for. And then I decided, how could I become that for others? Yep. So there was a lot of intentionality in how I'm showing up.
That's it.
And I just want you to know you're arriving. You're arriving as you intended to arrive. And it's an amazing and beautiful thing to witness. I'm fortunate to have front row seats to it. And it's a priceless experience. But you are so multifaceted. That is only one way that you show up. We are in another way that you show up, the podcast. This is something that I watched you kind of mull over for years, wanting this to show up in the right way. And now I understand the intentionality that you put behind it. Let's just start with what you're having a sip on, the tea.
My tea.
Yeah. What does tea symbolize? How did you arrive at tea with Tamela?
Well, you know, there are some parts of me that loves and appreciates literature and things that are super timeless, vintage, classics. And so tea was something that people would sit over. You know, people would meet for tea and they would have like deep conversations. They were getting to know each other. They were pulling together families over tea. But when I was growing up, hot tea wasn't even a thing. Or if it was, like, I wasn't exposed to it.
Ice cold sweet tea.
I was exposed to ice cold sweet tea. But I could recall as I was thinking about, because for me, I love having conversations. Like that's a thing for me. Like, and I do small talk well. But I don't like small talk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, let's go in. Like, tell me about you. And I'm like, you can tell me. You'd be like, I just met you. Like, let's go in. Tell me all about you. And so, a lot of conversations, like I mentioned, when you would go to my grandmother's house, there was always sweet tea. And so they'd be like, you want a glass of tea? Like that was an offering. Like, do you want the tea or water? You know?
Yeah.
And so I would watch them sit around a table. And I was ear hustling, obviously, hearing probably some things that I probably shouldn't have, but I was watching moments happen of deep conversations over that sweet tea in books that I was reading and TV shows. It was hot tea.
Yeah.
And so as I started to journey certain parts of life, I would get hit with different questions about my lived experiences or how I processed different things or people that I knew. And so I wanted to take time to sit with people,
Yeah.
to really have deep conversations around things that could enlighten them, because I'm a teacher at heart, things that would give them opportunity to sit, and have their guards down, to share wisdom with the world. But then there was another thing shortly around the time that I was exposed to, of trying to figure out like what would I name the podcast. And there was a sermon, I can't remember, it was either Tony Evans or Priscilla Shire, and they were talking about like a tea bag. And they were talking about the contents that's inside of the tea bag. And when you put it in hot water, how it steeps and it gets stronger. The longer it sits in the hot water, the stronger the tea becomes. And so, like, when you see people dipping their tea bag in and out, I'm like, you're messing up your tea. Like, you're not going to get your tea at full strength. But as it sits, and so I wanted people to be able to sit, whether they're in the interview chair, whether they're listening, and to really be able to gain strength, endurance, to get wisdom and discernment on how to navigate things, how to have fun. Some people don't even know how to have fun, how to laugh, how to just enjoy time with themselves, time with other people. And then it was just like a little class out. Like I love, class, tweed, and all the things. So it was just a combination of so many different things from the internal and external of me that helped me come up with the T with Tamela.
I love that. I was in my alone time earlier today just studying like how you build your internal, and it's a lot of sitting. It's sitting with simplicity. It's sitting in solitude. It's sitting in submission. And the last was like service. So it was all like sitting, resting, pulling back, like sitting. And so when you talk about like a tea bag getting full strength, it's like sitting in it. And that's what you want to really show up in nourishment, where people are able to sit and take in. When you look at podcasts, so much of it is all these different conversations. There's so many different messages that are out there. Did you feel like there was something that you wanted to add in particular to culture or to the faith conversation that may would enhance the conversation or tweak the conversation or something? There were major gaps in the conversation. How did you really want it? What did you feel like you wanted to add to society via conversations, as conversations is clearly so important to you?
Well, I feel like everybody has their own group of people that they're assigned to. And so with that, I remember watching Oprah like every day at 4:00 have these very deep and intense conversations with people that she was assigned to pull those things from them, because these were people that either I'd never heard of or I knew certain things about them, but it wasn't the things that she was pulling from them in her conversations and things of that nature. And then as I started to look at, podcasts becoming a thing and, shows becoming this whole thing, I'm like, what value can I add to this space for the people that I'm assigned to, for the people who can hear my voice and either be encouraged or transformed or want to know more or can take some of the wisdom and apply it to their own lives. And that could be 10 people, that could be 10,000 people, that could be 10 million people. But regardless of who those people are and how I'm able to have these conversations to reveal certain things to them or to answer questions that they may have asked me, those are the people that God has entrusted me to share my voice with. And I wanted to be able to do that in a way that was intentional, but in a way that afforded them an opportunity to feel seen, to feel heard, and to feel like they have that person who they can connect with. Because just because there's a million podcasts out there, you're not going to connect with everyone, every host, every guest, or, there are people who are going to hear this and they're going to go to the next one because they're not going to connect with me. And that's okay. I'm not assigned to you. That's not for you. But for the people that it's for, I wanted to be able to have something where they had just this connection with me.
Yeah, I love that. I would call that mission true. That you've stayed true to the mission of what you wanted to start it for. As you look back on wanting to have a brand that really connected with individuals, like those individuals were connecting with you in those seasons of life, and your delivery all these years later, that was 15 years ago, that you started to have those emotions and feelings and connections, and now you're creating that for others. And so I think it would be very easy to have mission drift at this point with all the different changes, but you have stayed mission true.
Yep.
And I think you deserve flowers for that.
Thank you.
Because we know how busy the world is, and so for a person who can consistently show up as them, even though a lot of things change, the means may change, but the mission doesn't. That's incredible. Talking about that, you've had to build a public brand, and I know you talk about like you're good with being in front of the camera or behind the camera, but this is very visible. You're very public now. People know Tamela Davis, even apart from the Davis brand. How is that for you? What is going on with you as you're navigating being a public figure now, individually and collectively, in the midst of the constant life transitions? Multiple kids been born since you've gone public, playing in multiple cities, navigating a lot of just constant changes in the midst of becoming a public figure. What is that like for you?
It's challenging at times, but there are sweet moments, I think, in all of it. And as I navigate it, I always try to ask myself, like, what's your why? And if my why becomes more me focused than people focused, then I'm operating outside of what I feel like the calling ever was. A lot of times obviously when you're building brands, you want to be able to have a mass reach, but you should never want to have it at the expense of you or at the expense of what God has given you the assignment to be able to accomplish, because now you're operating outside of your purpose and your calling and you're creating your own. And I never want to be able to walk so far left, and I'm pointing right, so left. Be like, does she know her left and right?
That was my left, so I would have caught it if you didn't say that. And I don't know how the way cameras shoot, if that would catch that as left or right, depending on what camera is recording.
Yeah, so whichever.
Yeah.
But I don't ever want to walk so far away that I start to build this brand apart from the person who gave me the permission or the thought pattern or the confidence and the boldness to even do it. And so it does nothing for me to have 1 million people following me and they're following me towards the pits of hell. Or they're trying to maintain or create a life that's not for them because I'm giving them false information. So I always want to operate in truth and integrity.
Yeah.
I always want to remember the why. And I also want to remember what these things did for me when I was in the height of I was in a high of my life from the exterior, but I was spiraling trying to figure out certain things of how to do it right on the interior. And
Yeah.
so I don't want to do a disservice to my friends who don't even know me,
Yeah.
who helped me so much.
Yeah. People focus, not me focus.
People focus, not me
took
focus.
that. I heard that. Talking about people, little people.
Little
What do you
people.
hope that our little girls and son see out of their mom when they see this?
What I desire for all of my little people to see is independence,
Mm.
but also dependence. Like you can be independent on how you navigate certain things in life, but you should always remain dependent on the Lord.
Oh,
And so how do you do that
Ooh.
in whatever it
Ooh.
is that
That's heat.
you feel like your assignment or your calling or your purpose or your passions are leading you? I want them to be able to see joy, because I want them to enjoy whatever it is that they feel like God is calling them to. Like, are you able to do that for free? Are you able to get excited about what you're doing? Are you able to see the impact and the legacy that it's leaving, not just for your namesake, but the impact that it's going to have on other people? I want them to have boldness and confidence. I also want like my girls to see that you don't have to choose. Like you don't have to choose either being this career woman or brand building or a wife or a mom, or like you can
'Cause
have
you didn't know
both.
that.
Because I didn't know that, and
Yeah.
I struggled heavily
Yeah.
with that. And so
You thought you had to pick.
I thought I had to pick.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that I could do both. And so
Wow.
I started to think, I'm like,
Wow.
if I do this thing, then it's gonna take away from this other thing.
Wow.
Or if I do, because I'm like, which one is gonna lack? And in full transparency, it's hard to give both things what you would want your 100% to look like. It may be the 100% that you have on that day, but in your mind, you have what you want that 100% to look like.
Ooh.
And so teaching them what hard work and sacrifice really looks like, but how to balance it all where the main thing remains the main thing.
Yeah.
And I know, like, sometimes there's, these conversations that I'm able to have with them, and they talk about, like how much, we're working or how much we're doing all these different things. And so I'm trying to teach them, like, one day there are going to be things in your life that you're going to be really passionate about, and you're going to want to do those. And mommy's going to be so excited for you that I'm going to celebrate you and I'm going to encourage you to do those things. So, like, get excited alongside me, celebrate me, because that's showing them like how to properly balance it, where I'm having intentionality, I'm having conversations, I'm having time, and it looks different during different seasons, but I want to be the blueprint.
Yeah.
So that they have the boldness and the confidence to be able to pick and do whatever it is, and not feel like if they're choosing one road or the other, then they're incompetent. And for my son, I want him to be able to affirm himself, but also his significant other to not feel like, I don't want him to be like, my dad did it this way and my mom didn't do like. I want him to be able to see,
Yeah,
like,
that plays a big role. That plays a
things.
big role.
It does play a big role.
People choose the family dynamics that they saw growing up.
Yes.
You know.
So I want to expose them to it all and say,
Us.
you can have it all. Sometimes not at the same time, but you can have it all. And your all is going to look different from his all and her all. We have to redefine what all looks like.
Yeah. So let's talk about the all. We're getting ready to go back to New York City. And as we remember, we're showing up to New York, and they were like, all you need is $1 and a dream.
Suitcase and a dream.
Suitcase and a dream.
All you need is suitcase and a dream.
And what is the big dream of the F word, Tea with Tamela, Tailgate Treats? What is it all? What's the big dream?
You know what? I am still trying to figure that part out, but I'm still also trying to give myself permission to dream outside of, as I mentioned earlier, my zip code, dream outside of what limitations that I've placed on myself. Because sometimes we put limitations on ourselves where we don't give ourselves permission to dream past that guardrail. And so with that, in full transparency, like sometimes I'm scared to dream bigger. because I'm a perfectionist and I don't like to fail. And with that, I'm like, if I keep it within arm's reach, if I keep it, this way or that way, I can control it. And that's a person who struggles from, but this allows me first, because this is me being vulnerable with myself before I can openly admit that. But I have to do that before I'm able to sit it at the throne to allow God to do whatever it is He wants to do in it, through it, in me, through me, move those guardrails, move those boundaries, give me permission and boldness to be able to do whatever it is. Because I don't ever want to, if there's something that He's trying to grow, I don't want to be like, oh no, God, I'm good. Because I am good down here. I'm good down here. But if He's calling me to up there, I want to go up there and not fight Him on it. But I'm open to what that is. I'm open to what that looks like. I think the beauty of this transition that's taken place is like a lot of people know the F word. They know the food truck. They know the pocket. They know all of these things as being directly connected to New Orleans.
Yeah.
Because that's when I got the boldness and the confidence to step out.
Yeah.
But the part that a lot of people didn't know is all of the legwork or the research, the plan and the journal and the dream, it actually happened.
Wow. In our time in New Jersey.
In our time in New Jersey.
Yeah, people don't know that you had that swirling around for years.
So they didn't know that it had I had that
I can
swirling
validate.
around.
I watched this for 4 or 5 years. Like, when are you going to do
like,
all this
when
stuff?
are you going to do it? Like, it was just in my notebook. It was like, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it?
Yeah.
And I remember there was a time.
That's interesting.
It's very interesting. And I think that's one of the things that kind of gets me like, oh gosh, like I might be on a roller coaster. Buckle up, Buttercup.
Yeah.
But I can remember, this is when I started reading all those blogs and writing my own blog. So when I actually launched the blog, a lot of my blogs were written years before they ever came out. And I wrote a lot of those when we lived in Jersey, when we lived in Ohio. I think the thing around the food and the food truck, like I can recall like doing this food segment with SNY where they came to our house and like we were hosting your teammates. And Janae Coakley, she came to me and she was like, hey, like, how do you feel about doing like a tailgate treat, like a tailgate setup outside the stadium? We come out, we film, we do all this stuff. Like, and this was an idea that like she kind of helped me birth that I just never moved on it because I was scared, you know? And I can recall the moment where I knew I had to move on making this all come. And my friend, shout out to Sophia Luke, stopped by the house. They were in town in New Orleans and they were actually filming. She and Derek were filming some things and she had an hour and she was like, the Lord told me to come by your house. And she came with her laptop and she had all of these things. I'm like, okay, the Lord definitely told you this, because she and I had never had that conversation. And she talked about the right, and she talked about the blog. She talked about the cooking. She talked about all of the homeschooling, the how to do both. Like she had all of them, like all of. And I ran and grabbed mine. I'm like, it's all in here. And so the first company that helped me launch the brand, like she connected me with them. But had she not literally put me on a text thread with them and they not pursued me like, hey, we're waiting on this. Hey, like I probably would have stayed stagnant, but it took that moment to help define what was actually going to take place, and then for it to continue to grow from there. And then as I started to get these ideas, there were different people who came along, like Jeanette came along, and she was able to take my food truck vision and really bring that to life. And then there were other things that I wanted to be able to do that, it was just different people during the right season came along and helped me carry it so that I didn't have to have all the weight and responsibility of trying to carry it on my own.
Jeez. You don't know, but you just preached.
I don't know what I just preached. I barely remember what I just said.
You just preached. We're going to have to do this again because it's so much more to Tamela Gill Davis than the world could ever imagine that could ever be shared over one episode.
Okay.
But I think people really just got a glimpse.
Oh, well.
I think you just gave a glimpse, and the nugget that I would pull out, but I wish we had more time to spend on, is the vulnerability to sit your fears at the throne and what's being revealed and what could not be revealed if you stay in a place where those fears are anchors holding you down.
Yeah.
So none of people would be able to get to be experiencing you in this element had it not be for the awareness of someone getting a word from the Lord coming and visit you and setting it in motion. And even you in your own work, as you get ready to step into a bigger place of dreaming, being able to do the real work and say, hey, I got fears, but I can't let these fears hold me up this time. So I got to
Right.
sit it at the throne of God.
Yeah.
And I just love that. I love that for you. I love that for all of us who've gotten a chance to have our souls nourished. But you know what time it is?
What?
It is tea time. What is that final sip of tea or that final bit of tea that you want to leave? As you say, could be inspiration. It could be just something you want people to know, something you want to share. What is that final bit of tea that you want to leave for our wonderful guests?
Oh my goodness. Final piece of tea. I don't know. I'm trying to think. What do I want to leave the people with? I think it could be a couple things. Dream big, devote everything. That's our motto. I think too. I would tell the people who get downloads from the Lord, when he is showing you something that you should be doing or that you should be encouraging somebody else to do, like, don't back down from that, because somebody else's freedom, somebody else's chains and shackles could be released on the other side of your obedience. And so the importance of walking in obedience and not backing down. I think another thing would be the importance of understanding that nothing is too big or too small to sit at the throne. Um, I don't know. I think that's a big part of the tea that I would leave. Oh, let's see what my tea bag says today. Made paths. What's it? Oh, many paths to the same destination. It doesn't matter how you get there. There are many paths to the same destination. Doesn't matter how you get there. Just get there. I don't care how you get there.
Thank you for your obedience. I think selfishly, I've been able to see you as in our own individual space, but I get a chance to see a whole nother side of you as the world gets a chance to see you in the collective space or the public space. I get to see a different side of you as well, and so a
Yes, you
different
do.
shade. And so I think
The
we're
good,
all.
the bad, the ugly.
I like the ugly.
You're so crazy. You're crazy.
No, I think it's cool, and thank you for your obedience. Because if you weren't being obedient, none of us could get a chance to experience this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for the final episode of season 2 with Tea with Tamela. As we leave New Orleans, our dear friends, our dear family, our dear fans in New Orleans, chapter 8 being wrapped up came with a ton of emotions.
So many emotions.
We have shared a lot of tears alongside you this week as a season of life is coming to an end. It's almost like when you graduate high school or you graduate college and you know that life going forward is going to be different. And the way that you have loved us, there is no words for. In an industry that can sometimes be dark, that can sometimes be unfair, that can be a lot of different things and can be so transactional. You have loved us like family, like friends. The impression that you have left on me, my wife, our children, there are not enough words that can be said. There is not enough gifts that can be sent. But hopefully in our thank you, you hear how much we appreciate you, each and every one of you, from the top to the bottom, the suites to the streets of New Orleans, all of Louisiana. Your love will never go away and will never not be felt by us. And that's why New Orleans will always be home for us. So thank you for loving us this way. You guys talk about how much we've given to you and all we've done for you, but you guys have done 100 times more for us and given 100 times more to us than we'll ever be able to give to you. We love our people. We love our city, New Orleans. As we transition, though, we eagerly look forward to the mission that's ahead of us. As our mission is completed in one place, it's just beginning in another. And we are so excited to be returning to the city and team that drafted us. We eagerly look forward to all that God has in store. New Jersey, New York, Jess Nation, get ready. The Davises are coming.
Tea with Tamela. Let's laugh and spread love. Tea with Tamela. You're more than enough. Tea with Tamela. Don't ever give up. Tea with Tamela. Come and fill your cup. Tea with Tamela.